you would bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we stand before you tonight with thankful hearts, thankful that we live in such a beautiful and special place as Valdese. We seek your guidance, wisdom, and knowledge in making the decisions that are before the council tonight. And we pray for your protection to be upon our town, our citizens, our employees, and this council. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Council, first item on tonight's agenda, item 4A, approval of resolution for the SRF, SRB funding application for supplemental Helena funds. Mr. Lytle.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this item is the only action item that we have on this agenda here. The reason why is because the application deadline is actually tomorrow, so we wanted to get this one approved and in if possible. So taking a step back a little bit, review the history of this. So back in June, Council approved the town to do a resolution for Helene funding. We didn't know what that was going to look like at the time. We applied for two different projects, raw water intake building and the interconnection project with Morganton and Drexel. So they went through that process. They scored everybody's projects. The interconnect did not score as high as the raw water intake building project. Remember, that was the building that got flooded during Helene for us. So that actually was our higher priority on their list that they wanted to see get funded. So with that, the cap on any project for any town was $10 million. So that took the cap. It was 8.75, I think. Yeah, 8.75 principal forgiveness, and the remainder of that $10 million was a 0% interest loan for 20 years. So $1.2 million over that 20 years. The project itself is scoped out to be around $30 million, so obviously 10's only a third of that, right? So what this resolution here before you now is another source of funding. It's not going to be as great, but it's an opportunity to try to get a little more for this project. So the SRF application period, as I said, it closes tomorrow, so we can get this in and hopefully try to get a little bit more money. We know we're going to have to change a little bit of the scope for the raw water project if that's the path that we take, but this is at least lets us dip into some more funds out there that might help us with that initiative. So are there any questions on that?
Council, questions?
I have a couple. So what was was $30 million is the project? Did that cover both parts or just one part? You mentioned that I think we applied for 2 grants, right?
Right. So so the raw water intake building was around 30 million, and basically that scope was to just literally relocate the building higher ground. So that would be putting a whole new building and everything in. The interconnect project was its own separate funding. I think that was like 28 million for the Valdese side of that portion.
It was how much, I'm sorry?
I believe it was like 28 or 29 million.
For the total project?
For the interconnect portion.
Okay.
2 separate projects.
And how much did we apply for the interconnect portion?
We applied for the full 29 million of it. For both projects, we applied for the full amount because they didn't really have, at the time, they didn't really tell us what caps were going to be. So we just shot for the moon to see what we can grab.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we applied for 2 different things. All right, so I'm trying to sort out some of the information that we received or read about. And according to the paper, Morganton and Drexel got some funds allocated for the interconnect project, but we got none for that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what they said, you said, that we got none for that. And for us to make, well, for everybody to make that work, Valdese needed to get their portion also, which, according to the article in the paper, was an elevated water tank that would provide pressure and probably some other things too, but,
Mhm.
is that right?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. So we got nothing for that.
Right.
Now, what did we get approval of and for?
The raw water intake project is what got approved. Now, obviously, the full scope was not funded, so at this point, we need to hit the pause button, apply for these SRF funds, see what we can get from there, and then possibly start revising the scope to meet those whatever funding we have, so that we don't have to put town money into it. We could just use the grant funds that are available to us.
And the total cost of that project would be how much?
If we were to do it as like we applied, it was 30 million.
30 million.
Mm-hmm.
And how much did we get?
The cap was 10 million, so it was 8.75 of free money basically, and then the remainder was a principal forgiveness loan, so 0% interest loan for 20 years.
All right, and what is it that we're going to apply for if the council approves it tonight?
Just for more funding towards that same project.
How much more? That would be the other 20 million?
Well, we wish, but no, it'll only probably be a couple million at the most. This is a smaller pot of money that we're applying
All
for.
right.
So.
So it has nothing to do with the interconnect project, it's strictly our own water plant?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we don't get any more, can we spend the 8.5 million that we have approved, that we've been awarded so far? Can we spend that even if we don't do the whole project?
Yes, we'll have to go through a few hoops to change the scope and let them know that we're not be able to afford the full project as funded, and change the scope to do some modifications of the building that will meet resiliency and not relocate the entire structure.
So we've been awarded 8.5 million. We're gonna try to get a couple million more, which would give us something over 10 million. And maybe was there an interest-free loan that we could also qualify for?
Well, that was part of the 10 million.
Part of the 10 million,
Yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
so 10, we've been awarded 10 million altogether.
Correct.
We're gonna try to get 2 million more.
Correct.
And if we get that, we can do $10 million worth of work at improvement on the water plant without
Right.
any question, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we don't get that additional 2 million, we can do $10 million worth of improvement to the water plant with no question.
Right, as long as they approve the changes in the scope that we'll present. But we got to know how much more we can get before we start looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I understand it now, thank you.
Okay, good.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution for the SRF SRP funding application for supplemental Helena funds.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution for SRS SRP funding application for supplemental Helene funds.
Okay, second,
I'll
please.
second.
Thank you. Further discussion.
Yeah, one thing I don't understand, Bo, maybe you can help me, talks about the full project cost for the intake. It's originally scoped approximately $30 million. Now, how are we gonna pay for that? I mean, if we're looking at 12 million, 10 million,
Correct. And yeah, that's kind of what we were just discussing of, we won't be able to afford the full 30 million.
right?
So we're going to try to apply for whatever additional funding we can get with this SRF. And then we'll know, okay, we got 10 plus maybe 2 or 3 or something like that. And then we can start looking at the scope of work and start deducting things to meet that dollar amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, those in favor signify by saying yes and raising your right hand.
Yes.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, council, next item 4B, review and discussion of the October 6th, 2025 agenda. Okay, you see the consent agenda. Are there any questions on it?
I'd like to remove item E from that and deal with it separately.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, give me just a second, council. Okay. No further questions on the consent agenda. We'll move to item 7A, public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization, funding for the Berrytown Waterline Project. And Mr. Case, is he going to address that tonight, or you don't look like Mr. Case?
I think he'll be here next week
That's
to
fine,
talk
yeah,
about
I
it.
don't see a need to go over it twice.
But I'll just tell you real briefly what it is. The Berrytown Waterline Project. So we originally had requested $800,000 through the CDBG NR program. Due to increased project costs, they've given us another $200,000. So we've already done this process, public hearing process for the 800, but since they're giving us extra 200, we have to go through the same exact motions. So that's all this is doing. It's a public hearing to notify the public of the extra $200,000.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Okay, item B, adoption of community development block grant structure, same thing.
So this goes hand in hand. It's just adopting these several documents that we've already adopted once, but it's just something that CDBG program requires.
Okay. All right. Item C, approval of ordinance directing the closure of property deemed imminent danger, presented by Mr. Kurt Willis with the COG. Sir.
Good evening. So we've had the case at Pine Burr for quite some time. Mrs. Bullock's living in her tent still with her son. We opened up a minimum housing case in July, met with her on the 23rd of July to have a hearing on, explain what was going on, got her in contact with her homeless outreach team. She is currently on a voucher. She has a voucher for back in home, some kind of program called Back to Home. There's no available openings currently. She has several avenues and she is actively pursuing a place to live. Okay, but as of yet, she's still in the tent. So her 60 days are up for that. And if you adopt the ordinance on Monday the 6th, we'll placard the property, and then if we have to, she'll be removed from the property for trespassing on her own property, and we'll tear down the tent and whatever else.
Okay. Questions, council?
I'm sorry, I had a little bit of trouble hearing you, but this is a property that is going to be closed because it's deemed in imminent danger, right?
It's a minimum housing issue,
Okay,
and it's unhealthy, unsanitary, because there's no facilities for her and her son to use, and they're living there in a tent.
okay.
I might add that I've had multiple complaints on this piece of property. And we've been working with this, and the police department has too, for over a year.
What is the property?
It's a
Now, what address is it?
508 Pine Burr Avenue Southwest, 508 Pine Burr.
I fully understand now, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, my question is where does she go at that point? Because I have people who live in tents near me, and are we going to, I mean, we've tried the no trespassing, and our police are doing a phenomenal job trying. They go somewhere. They're not, if they lived in Valdese, I have a feeling they're not going to want to leave Valdese. I'm just curious. It just seems like we move people from one place.
Yes.
To the other,
This goes
so-
a whole lot deeper.
Okay, I see,
There's
and
a long
okay.
history of it, so yeah.
So
it
I'm
goes-
just curious, like, what,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where she'll end,
Yeah.
where these people go,
I don't know.
so, okay.
I know
The
he
thing
had,
is, we've tried to help and it's been refused.
the son's 25 years old. His dad come and got him and took him camping this summer.
Okay.
and then brought him back. So I don't know where they're going. It is sort of playing whack-a-mole.
Okay.
I do it quite often. So you just have to deal with it when it pops up here and there. But she is on a path to find a place. She does have a voucher. As soon as, there's nothing available. When it comes available, she'll be in a place.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we'll leave that on the agenda for next week. Thank you, sir. I appreciate
you.
your work on that. Okay, item D, capital project ordinance, utility line replacement, fiscal year 25-26. Mr. Weichel.
So with the CIP adopted budget, we had several utility line projects in there. If you'll recall, we had Roderette, Kerrville, and Jefferson. So we're moving on those. What this is doing is setting up a capital project for those items so that we can account for that properly and budget properly. So this ordinance will set up the surveying, all the engineering work that goes behind it. And then once we go out for bids and we get the actual construction costs, we'll go back and update this project ordinance to reflect what those costs are and then amend that at that time. That's why in the packet, you'll see it's a smaller amount than what was approved in the budget because we're only moving those funds for engineering and stuff at this time.
Okay, questions, council?
Mr. Weichel, do we know approximately when that project will actually get started for those residents?
Well, with setting up this, it'll
Mhm.
get the engineering work kicked off. So
Okay.
I'm not sure entirely how long that will take. I'm hoping by the January we can go out for bids.
Okay.
That's,
And that's a project that, those projects will impact the utility fund and not the general fund, is that correct?
right, this is all utility fund.
Okay.
Yep.
And that means that it doesn't have any impact on property taxes or our general fund reserves. It is all funded eventually by the water and sewer revenues.
Correct. Yep.
Anyone else? Okay, that will remain on the agenda for next Monday. Item E, capital project ordinance, water plant bulk chemical facility improvements. Sir?
Okay, so this is setting up another project ordinance fund. So this one is actually slated, is not in the CIP for this current year, it's actually slated for the next year. But the reason why we've got it on here now, and all it's doing is setting up the funding for design work, because we have got a bigger project going on out there that we all know about, the water plant upgrades project. So what we're trying to do here is capture the work from that CIP item. We want to try to include that in the bidding process for that larger project. So, and that's going to probably be in a couple months when we go out for bids for that, because that design work's already underway. So what this is doing is, and the project in particular is the chemical tanks at the water plant. So if we can include it with that water plant upgrades project, we might get, I don't know what you want to call it, but better pricing, basically. So if it doesn't work out, then we'll still have the design work ready for when we do that standalone project, but we're going to try to include it underneath that state appropriation project if we can. So that's what this is doing, is setting up a project ordinance for that design work so we can include it in the bidding package.
Questions, council?
That also will, it's part of the utility fund and not the general fund.
Correct.
Does the utility fund have any reserves? Is it
Does it-
sitting on any reserves that are invested?
Yes, it does. Mhm.
How much roughly?
I think our percentage was around 65, 70% last year, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the dollar amount, sorry. I think it's around 4.5 million, 5 million, something like
Okay.
that.
I about to tell you, I might ask you that question. So, well,
Okay.
that's close enough. But then, do we know what the current USDA lending percentage rate, interest rate is?
Yeah, so that one is at 5.25% for the USDA rate.
USDA is
5
charging 5.25% now?
5.25, yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting,
That's what
because a year or so ago, when we were inquiring about our public safety building financing, they was like way less than that.
Well, when we were going through the process with them for the original, like 4 years ago, the rate was 3.75.
Oh, yeah, I know, 4 years ago, but I'm
Yeah.
talking about last year when we were checking with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. One more question. If we, one big chunk of debt in that utility fund is the bonds, the bond floating for those settings sewer substation. Is there any way to, if we had the funds available, could that, can that be erased? Can that be eliminated or paid off in some way, or are we stuck with those bonds until they expire?
Well, yeah, we can pay off any loan early from USDA. There's no penalty to pay off early. That's what the council wishes to do. But-
Because there's, as I recall, there's something like $900,000 left on that project, and we're paying, I think, at least 4.25% interest on that.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact balance, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, well, good enough for now, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, that'll remain on the agenda for next week. Item F, year-to-date financials, sir. No, you just thought you were.
So currently, we only have, because we got to close out the month of September, so I'm planning by this time next week, we'll have September's numbers included, which will give us a first quarter. So I don't have anything for you tonight on that, because we're not closed out, so that's my plan of July, August, and September next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Item F will remain on the agenda for Monday. Item G, clarification of November and December council meetings. Number one, formal designation of the organizational meeting. And Mr. Harvey, I believe that's yours.
I initiated the discussion and had some correspondence with Attorney Swanson about it. And it was, all the council members were shared in that, although I don't think anybody had any thing to say about it. But the thing is that when we adopted the calendar, the council calendar for this year, we moved the normal date of the November meeting, which instead of it being November, the first Monday of November, the regular meeting is going to be November 17th. And that purpose for that was to let the new council members who are elected, and there are going to be 4 of them on the ballot in November. The November election will be November 5th, I think. 4th? Okay, November 4th. So instead of the regular council meeting being November 3rd, the eve of the election, it'll be November 17th. And so then we indicated in our schedule that the election would be sworn in on November 17th, which makes a lot of sense. But to clarify that, there's also the concept of an organizational meeting, which requires, it's a stated meeting, it's stated by state statutes, it's defined. So at any rate, what I intend to do next Monday at the October 6th meeting, and Attorney Swanson said he didn't have any problem with it, is just to clarify that the organizational meeting at which newly elected council members are sworn in, and they must elect the mayor pro tem at that meeting, by state statute, it's the first week of December unless the council sets an earlier meeting date. The Valdese Town Council is designated, and the motion that I make will indicate that the council has designated the organizational meeting to take place on November 17, if the Burke County Board of Elections has certified the 2025 election results by that date. Now, the reason for clarifying that is that three of us who were elects in the last election, 2023, were left out in the cold because we frankly didn't know what was going on, and there was not even a quorum at the December meeting to where we were sworn in, and as our town attorney has said, a quorum of existing members should be present to open the meeting, complete any business coming before the swearing-in ceremony, and swear in new council members. After the oaths are taken, the council will hand over the meeting to the new council members as appropriate. The newly elected council members will handle the remainder of the agenda. So this fairly simple motion will be more simple than what I just went through here, but it'll be a motion that will resolve that on November 17, we'll have the organizational meeting and swear in new council members, assuming that the Board of Elections has certified the election by that time, and they usually do it within a week or 10 days.
Okay. Item 2, clarification of terms of office and elects being sworn in.
I think I covered that as well.
Okay. Sir?
I think he's covered that
Okay.
whole item.
Relevance of November 10th pre-agenda meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's just a question. Since the November 17 meeting, well, once the elects are sworn in, the agenda then belongs to the new council. So I'm just posing the question. I don't have a suggested answer for it. Is the November 10 pre-agenda meeting for the November 17 meeting relevant? It would be an opportunity to introduce the elects, but then we'll be reviewing that agenda, which will belong to the new council. Do we want to still go ahead and do that?
Yeah.
It's on the schedule, unless we decide not to do it.
I think so.
It's up to council. I'm not going to voice.
We would make a motion on the 6th if we think that meeting's needed, if we want to continue it or not continue it. Okay.
Okay. They'll stay on the agenda under item G. Item H, engagement of financial analysis and modeling consultant. Mr. Harvey, I believe you added.
Yes, I asked to have that one on there because I'm really concerned about the process for deciding among 4 options for the public safety building. The way it stands right now, and we discussed this at the last meeting, is that the council will be presented with 4 numbers prepared by a general contractor, and they will deal with renovation or new construction on 4 different options. The problem I have with that is that each of those options have other financial considerations that will fall out if that option is selected. I mean, they can be as much as $2 or $3 million for 1 or 2 of the options. So I do not feel that the council should make a decision based on having, without consideration of, many millions of dollars of related expenses that will be inevitable certainly if 1 or 2 of those options are selected. So at the September meeting, I raised the question, can we use Tryon Financial Advisors, who are providing a model for us, to do in-depth analysis and modeling for this project. And I haven't heard the answer to that. If that's a possibility, that would be fine. If not, I would be inclined at the October meeting then to make a motion authorizing the staff to acquire that kind of outside help and make that information available to the council. It's information that I've got pretty deep financial training and experience, but I wouldn't be able to do justice to an in-depth financial analysis on a couple of those options. So I guess if staff has a solution now, fine. If not, I'll suggest a motion at the next meeting.
Well, I will try to attack not attack, explain some of this, and then if I don't do a good enough job on the modeling, Bo can, because he's been working on it with the Tryon. The four options that will be brought back, I don't necessarily will know if it will have a price attached to it. They will come in and say, these are the pros and cons to each option, if it's even a viable option. Right now, they're looking at the property to see what would be the pro of using that property versus the con of using that property as far as logistics and stuff like that. But the main purpose is to actually see the viability of it. In their opinion as general contractors, okay, if we choose to build over here on virgin property, there's a lot of pros to that, but there's also a couple cons versus taking an existing building and try to renovate it and what they have found in those buildings. I don't know, and I highly doubt that there's going to be a finite price associated with each option. They're more going to be talking about the structural capabilities and whether or not it's viable or not. At that time, once council sees the four, let's say of the four, only two of them are viable, for whatever reason. At that point, council will say, well, we would like to see the financial implications of either one option or both options. And at that point, that's when we would get into the financial monitoring and analysis of whatever options council chooses. There's a lot to get. I don't think it's very wise for us to go out and spend money to try to figure out what the financial feasibility of option. Pick one, option 3. If the general contractor says, we can't build on option 3 because of these reasons, you know what I mean? So this right here was to see the pros and cons of each option and give council some professional background on whether it's viable, whether it's not, what's the pros and cons of each option, and what, in their opinion, would be the best in order 1 through 4. 1 being whatever it comes back to. At that point, we would go back and say, okay, but we know options 1 and 3 can't be done because of whatever reason. We need to see what the implications are for options 2 and 4. And at that point, we would get into the financial analysis of that.
I'm sorry, but what you just said conflicts with everything that has been said in the past, and it conflicts with our RFQ. What we've heard in the past is that the council will decide among those 4 options, which is the phase 1 of the contract with the OR Reynolds. And the next step is to enter into a contract to move ahead with the options that the council selects at that time. That's what the plan has been. That's what the RFQ says. All my motion will do is not that we're going to go out and spend money before the council analyzes this. It would be to, since the staff doesn't think it's necessary, it would be to authorize hiring and paying for modeling to evaluate the options before the council chooses one of them. You just cannot select among 4 different building options when you've got millions of dollars hanging out there and the general contractors, you don't even know what those issues are.
Can I say something? I think what Mr. Harvard is meaning is once DR Reynolds looks at these, they may pick 2 buildings that just will not work at all. And so that leaves council two other options to choose from. And at that time, you would do the financial analysis that you're talking about.
That's not what the plan's been up until now, though. The plan is now the council will decide which option or options, and then proceed right to the contract for phase 2, which is start getting it underway.
I'm pretty sure you said financial analysis to assist council with the decision.
Maybe I misunderstood after the conversations we had. I thought, from my understanding, was DR Reynolds was gonna look at the 4 options, bring back the pros and cons of each option. Council was gonna choose of that list on their recommendation, 1 or 2 to look at, to research, and at that point, we would go and do financial. I think there's only gonna be 1, maybe 2 viable options. I think, at my conversations with them, there's things leading into it that, and I don't wanna put words in DR Reynolds' mouth, but from what it's looking like, the 2 existing buildings aren't gonna be your best option. That really limits on what we're gonna be focused on. But it's not completed yet. The engineers are still writing up their reports, and once they present, we would have a clearer picture of what our best path forward would be. And at that point, I totally agree with Mr. Harvey's assessment that we need to have some financial analysis of the total project, not just the cost. So if we use a piece of prime property that's worth $1 million versus using some property that may be less that we could sell, that goes into that equation. I think, and if I misunderstood that, I'm sorry, but I thought that was the way we was moving forward.
Well, first of all, what the motion I introduced would not commit the town to spending any money. It would simply authorize the staff to then get that financial analysis, which we're now, sounds like we're considering tonight. But I would challenge everybody, go back, look at the September 17 meeting, listen to the question I asked, what's the first step going to be? And the first step, the answer I got was, the council's going to pick which options that the contractor will then undertake as phase 2 of the contract. So, we can talk this to death tonight, but let me just come back with the motion next week. I'll provide some more information from my perspective, and I do have considerable commercial building construction experience, but I have a perspective, and I'll bring that back next week along with probably a motion that we engage some financial modeling assistance to help the council that I won't be any part of. And but I've heard, I'll just add one more thing. I've heard out of 6 candidates for town council and sitting council members, we throw all those together, we got maybe, 10 or 11 people altogether. I heard about 5 or 6 say, as soon as they get the DR Reynolds numbers, they're gonna make a decision and go with it. So I'm looking ahead, which is what I had to do in my day job for years. But I think, when I come back with something next week, I don't think it's not gonna cost anything except to set the stage for making a better decision than it looks like it's gonna be at this moment, certainly as it did at the end of the September meeting.
Okay, item H will stay on the agenda. Item I.
Excuse me, I think
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Weigel has something to add.
I'm sorry,
to
go
this.
ahead, bud.
Okay, so I'm just going to address the modeling part of it. The first try model that we're building is going to address exactly what you're wanting to accomplish. We're going to make it so that it can have those inputs and turn certain projects on and off, not just for public safety, but other projects. So if we have several options, we can input those we're still building that model, so we're not quite ready to do that yet. But what you're talking about is gonna accomplish what we're trying to do.
Okay, well, now that's great, then we won't have to go outside and get more assistance. But I asked that question in September, and the answer was no, that model is for preparing next year's budget. That's not for project evaluation.
Right, I went back to first try and explained what we're trying to accomplish. So they're gonna customize a model to incorporate that into it. But it's just gonna take some time to build all that and stuff,
So you think it might be ready by the time DR Reynolds comes back with 4 options?
Yeah, by the
It's
time they have
either the November 17 meeting or the December meeting.
Right, probably by December, I'm saying, I'm thinking. So, once we get those prices from them, then we can start playing around with that, inputting those, and we can turn those, we wanna go with, let's see what happens with option 1, we can turn that on. Option 2, we'll turn the one on, off. We can do that and play around with it and see. But what you're trying to do is exactly what we're working on, just it takes a little bit of time, so.
That sounds good.
And they've also offered to come and present that information too, so.
And
because
so then we would do that before the council is forced to pick A, B, C, or D.
If the council chooses to have that information, we can do that, yes.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
That would have stopped all this discussion.
Okay, item I, consideration of personnel policy and training recommendations by town manager after 5 months on the job.
So, I'll say that.
Okay. The first item is clarification.
Talking to one person, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I
sometimes.
understand.
So we're currently under contract with, and I can't remember the exact name of the company, it's Mr. David Hill, to do a pay study and a review of our personnel policy. We're hoping he's probably 65–70% completed with that. And then once that gets back, we will bring a recommendation for the first 2 items, especially back to council for their review, to approve the updated personnel policy. And then as far as item 3 goes, it's a little different. I don't know. So we do have conferences and trainings set up. In fact, that's where Jessica is tonight, already set up for several employees, and we're researching more opportunities for different employees to go out and receive additional training in leadership and in their job positions that they currently have.
Questions, council?
And then the personal use of town vehicles, I think
That's-
you mentioned some time ago that you were working up a policy on that.
Yes, and so, and I researched a lot of other cities, but then when David Hill came in and said that he was going to, part of it was review the personnel policy, he's also going to, that way we have a third-party independent outside making the recommendation as well. I think we're probably on the same guidelines. But then, once he presents it, we can tweak it if council so chooses.
Manager Hearns, who is this guy that's coming in?
His
What's he
name's
from?
David Hill. He's a professional, he works for a company that does pay studies and personnel.
Okay.
He's a professional HR consultant from Piedmont Triad. I was gonna say Sand Hills. It's
Okay.
Piedmont Triad,
Do you know him? You know anything about him?
Yeah, I've worked with him a couple times in the past. The COG's worked with him. He actually lives in Lenore. He's worked in this area a lot. And that's one of the reasons we chose him, is he already had the data sets for most of the comparables that we wanted, because he had already done most of their pay studies. So if there's 23 local cities, he's probably worked in 19 of them. I'm shooting from the hip there, but I mean, he's got a lot of depth and knowledge in this area, in this region.
Okay.
This is really valuable information, and I would suggest we keep it on the agenda and kind of run through it again at the October 6th meeting when we'll have a bigger audience.
Yes, sir.
All right. Everybody else?
Okay, anybody else have questions for item I? Moving on to item J, updates of ongoing or pending council resolutions. And I think
do you mean to try to run through these and give you just a
Yeah,
snippet
that'd
of
be
each
fine.
one?
Yeah, and then we'll do the rest Monday.
Yeah, so, I've got notes here. I'm not gonna try to go through every one of them, but I'm just gonna give you a snippet. We have been in contact with NCDOT about the resurfacing agreement. We're also, having conversations with other organizations to see if it'd be more beneficial to, partner with other organizations. We're still working through all that. We do not have an answer yet. We hope to have one probably in the next 30 to 45 days, to be completely honest with you, because everybody's in the same boat we're in. DOT had to shift focus and go west for a lean, and it kind of threw a monkey wrench in everybody's plans. The interconnect with Lenore has been approved by both us and the city of Lenore, and the agreement will begin to be utilized upon completion of construction and start of the interconnection. It's just like when we put a water line in, there's all kinds of engineering, all kinds of permitting, and then construction starts. So we will continue to update council as that project moves forward. But now this is not going to be something that happens overnight. This is a huge project, and it has a lot of moving parts.
Did we ever get the permit from Duke to go underneath the river?
I got that on my notes. Hold on one second. Duke is in the process of getting approval from FERC to do just that. It is still in the processing phase of the permitting. So they have not got one yet, but they're in the process of being approved.
Yeah, that's been hanging a couple of years, I think, and that was gonna be the big one.
Yeah, Duke's, just like, I mean, I'm not trying to defend Duke, but they did have to totally stop everything and basically rebuild western North Carolina. So it's kind of, trying to shift gears here. There's a picture out there on, the anniversary of Lean of all the lights at night. And just western North Carolina's totally dark. They basically had to rebuild it. So I'm not trying to defend them, but I understand why it's taking some time. Status of the Horrell Creek
Yeah.
Restoration and Path Project. We're in the process of getting approval for some right-of-ways and some easements per DOT, and after which we will start the project of stream restoration and trails along that park. The mobile food service ordinance is currently being reviewed by the planning board. I know they've had 2 meetings and discussed it twice, and they're still working through the process of it. Once they complete it, it will come before the council for their approval. And of course, if you don't agree, or you can tweak it any way you'd like. But right now, it's still sitting with the planning board of adjustments. Is that right? Pool cover and ADA compliance, so they were supposed to actually be out there this week to finish the ramps, but the weather is not going to be, is not cooperating. It seems like every time we get that scheduled, it rains. So they're working on that. We have run into a couple of small issues on the pool cover. According to the plans that we had and what's actually out there, that they're not lining up. But now again, the plans are extremely old. The concrete in some areas is not as thick as what was shown on the plan. So we're having to drop back and come up with a different way to attack a couple things. And we've also ran into electrical, is it electrical? Electrical issues. The electrical isn't exactly what was up on the plans as well. It's not going to delay the project. We're still moving forward. It's just like any other project. You're always going to run into something. You just got to set back into address them. But as soon as the weather clears up, the rails should be up. They were supposed to be up this week. It's not looking great. And then the pool cover, they've been out there pretty steadily for the last, 3 or 4 weeks working. But again, the major one is the concrete isn't as thick as what was shown on the plans. So to structurally secure the project, they got to come up with a way to do that. And they have some options for us to look at. So, public safety facility options, progress, and schedule. We're hoping to have the preliminary study to staff sometime late October, depending on what that looks like. It could be presented to council in the November meeting. More likely, it's gonna be December or January, probably December meeting, maybe January, just depending on what the study reveals and what we gotta move forward. This is the big hurdle we gotta get over. Once we get over this, I think the path clears up a little bit. We're not looking at so many different, options. And then, the design build, contractor for wall estimates, so I didn't really know that much about this one, I'll be honest with you, and I did not bring all my papers. Hold on a second. Let me get my.
While you're looking, on that one, I have, I'm thinking about it, I'm working on some suggestions, so I don't have them ready yet, but I'll have them ready in time for the agenda packet, so. Yeah, that was an action item from last year that got passed by the council, and I mention it mostly as a reminder, but also because I do have some suggestions that I'll try to get into a reasonable form before
Okay.
next week.
Okay, that's good. I was just gonna read off what I found in the minutes, on that project. But if you wanna bring them back, then we can address it, cause we may not be we may not be talking about the same thing.
It'd actually be simpler than what we talked about last time.
Perfect.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Ms. Turner? Okay, if not, going back to tonight's agenda, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney retained by the town in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the town attorney and the town council, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. And I need a motion, please.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying yes and raising
Yes.
your right hand.
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, I'd have got fussed at for not saying nothing when she got back. Ready? Okay, council, I'll entertain a motion to go out of the open meeting, close our meeting for tonight, adjourn. I'll need a motion and a second.
Make
I
a
move
motion.
that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.